Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and coming up today, I'm going to tell you why a bunch of people were missing from this week's episode of WWE Raw. I'm going to tell you about masks becoming compulsory at the WWE Performance Center, and on top of that, Impact Wrestling will crown their new world champion at Slammiversary.
Plus suspensions and releases from NXT UK in the wake of speaking out allegations. All the latest on Velveteen Dream's car accident, and a former WWE superstar will appear at Slammiversary. This is the news.
Well, let's kick things off by talking about the missing people from this week's episode of Raw. If you watched the show, you will have noted that a number of people who are currently involved in big storylines or just ongoing storylines weren't on the show. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer has come through with an update on some of them here. So Liv Morgan, she wasn't on the show despite her ongoing program with Ruby Riott because she was on a boat trip. Hey! The people she was on the boat trip, and take this kayfabe, take that, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, yes, scamps, protect the... Shut up, Jim Cornette. And Mandy Rose's mother. So they were out having a lovely time on a boat somewhere, so they couldn't appear on the show. Liv had a clip of the previous week shown. Natalya wasn't on the show. She's just formed a new alliance with manager Lana, but she was kept away from the tapings as her husband, Tyson Kidd, has a fever, or had a fever at the time of the tapings. This was a precautionary This was a precautionary method, and both of them have tested negative for the ongoing global bastard. Also, Rey Mysterio. He was originally supposed to be in the building as well, however, he elected to stay at home with his son, Dominic. They filmed a little vignette, little interview, little promo thing that they then had on the show to continue the rivalry with Seth the Chef Rollins. Now, another couple of gentlemen who were conspicuous by their absence were Austin Theory and Randy Orton. Both of them are involved in stuff going on at the moment, but neither of them were on the show. Unfortunately, we don't have a reason. We don't have a specified reason as to why either of these gentlemen weren't there. Meltzer has also said, however, that some of the absences, there are a couple of other names as well, were indeed due to the test results that came through the other week. However, some of them weren't, and no specific names are mentioned. So, just a little update on why these people weren't there. Maybe they'll be back next week. Maybe they won't. Who knows? Fingers crossed.
Yes, we're obviously not going to speculate on who's got what or whatever and the reasons if we don't know them. I suspect maybe Randy Orton just probably wasn't needed this week. I don't think you want to have him getting in the ring or get anywhere near Big Show ahead of what I assume is a big blow-off match where he destroys the Big Show at Extreme Rules, although I was slightly disappointed to watch Big Show just sort of destroy Angel Garza and Andrade in his place. Yeah, Austin Theory, shame he wasn't there. And then the others, that Liv Morgan story is hilarious. Just a big boat trip with Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville and Mandy's mum. That sounds lovely. And yeah, I think you're going to have to get used to this with WWE for a while of your favourites, whether or not they're advertised, potentially not showing up because things change. People have to adapt to this scenario, and like you say, the moment that you find out that anyone is in any danger, they should be pulled from the show or should just not go themselves. I think it's also worth pointing out, as we mentioned before, WWE has always said, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. And whether or not you believe that you're going to get bollocked if you don't go is another question. But yes, your safety, your health, and your family's health obviously should come first.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't believe them.
No.
But if it's a simple choice between do you want to come to work during this health crisis or whatever, or do you want to go on a lovely boat trip? Pretty easy one for me, I think.
Right, let's move on to our next story of the day. By the way, if you want to check out any of the other stories that we mentioned in the intro, they will be time-stamped in the description below if you want to jump to them. We're going to talk next, though, about NXT UK. Those speaking out allegations, of course, have rocked NXT UK in the last few weeks. And Joe Coffey has been suspended by WWE following his implication in them. The WWE confirmed the suspension with Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. We've also seen them release two referees, Joel Allen and Chris Roberts, both of whom face speaking out allegations. We reported yesterday there was going to be that big conference call call with everyone involved in NXT UK. A lot of speculation about what that was going to be about, but Triple H effectively just reiterated the company's policy on sexual abuse allegations, noting that there would be zero tolerance on charges with irrefutable evidence. Not a lot to say about this story, Andy. Just WWE sort of taking the right course of action to deal with these issues.
Yeah, of course. They let go of Ligero and Travis Banks last week. They're gone from the company. Coffey suspended. His name has been brought up. Yeah, you know, it's an ongoing situation within WWE. They're handling things on a case-by-case basis. And they're going to conduct their own investigations into these things and then take whatever action they deem necessary. So just see how the situation progresses. But another, 2 referees gone, another wrestler on the sidelines. Good to hear Triple H reiterating the policy, at least on the conference call. And sounds like NXT UK is maybe moving towards resuming operations as well.
Exactly.
Ongoing global bastard measures. WWE's measures haven't been great. They've been slow to react. They haven't taken as many steps as other organizations like New Japan, for example, probably the industry leaders as far as this goes at the moment. But I digress. We've got a new report here from Fightful, pardon me, citing an internal memo that went around in WWE, new procedures at the Performance Center, and baby, if you want to show up for the show, you're going to have to wear a goddamn mask. We saw this on Raw this week. All the crowd members had masks. They were taking a bit of extra effort to be socially distanced as well. It's a good step. Here's the memo. I'm going to read it verbatim. As a reminder, wearing masks, sanitizing, and social distancing will be required at the Performance Center this week and going forward. You'll be required to wear a mask upon entering, and we ask that you adhere to these requirements in order to minimize risks. Good. I mean, they've been slow to react, and they should have done this a lot sooner. But at the same time, you can't change the past, and at least they're taking the measures now. Now, masks. It seems I cannot go anywhere on social media without some grown adult kicking up a fuss about having to wear a tiny little mask to protect the health of others. It's kind of crazy, and why are so many people acting like grown babies? I don't know. But this is something they should have done a long time ago. These things are not 100% effective, right? That has to be acknowledged. They're not infallible. Studies on their effectiveness vary, but any little step you can do, no matter how small, to reduce the risk of transmission, even if it's just a tiny little thing that reduces it by 2%, you should do, because this thing kills people, and I'm glad WWE are finally catching up. Hope they're adhering to this backstage as well.
Not a lot I need to say on top of that. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Andy. Spot on with everything you said. In summary, better late than never, WWE. But yeah, maybe don't try and fight medical advice so heavily next time. Just a thought. Anyway, let's give you an update on the Velveteen Dream, of course, involved in a car accident last Friday on the 26th of June. That was reported by Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp. He hadn't suffered any serious injuries. Velveteen Dream, not Sean Ross Sapp, that is. He released from hospital on the same day. Now, there's a new report that's come out from Wrestling Inc. With details of what happened on Friday afternoon. Apparently, per the write-up, Dream apparently failed to stop at a red light, leading to his car running into another. The other driver was injured, though the severity of those injuries are yet to be revealed. Dream won't have to appear in court following the incident, but did receive a citation from the police. Fingers crossed here, Andy, that everyone has emerged with a few bumps and bruises, but nothing more serious.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main thing coming out of situations like this. Yeah, I mean, Dream's in an uncertain place at the moment. There was a report last week stating that he might be on the verge of being released from the promotion. He has, of course, been accused of a bunch of really heinous stuff over the past couple of months, stretching as far back as April. There were bits and pieces going around. We'll see what happens with that, but for now, I'm glad that everyone involved is seemingly okay. No one was seriously hurt, nobody was seriously injured, which is what you hope for coming out of these things.
Exactly. Any more developments we get on that, we will keep you posted.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Impact. Let's pivot over there. World Championship vacant. Tessa Blanchard gone. Released last week. All kinds of stuff going on there. We've covered it in great detail over the past few days. But last night on television, the company announced how they're going to crown the new champion. So it was originally supposed to be at Slammiversary, the 18th of July. Tessa Blanchard, Michael Elgin, Trey Miguel, Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, 5-way for the belt. Presumably Tessa would be dropping it there. That didn't happen. Tessa's gone, Michael Elgin's gone. They had a whole mess they needed to fix, but they have fixed it. Now, we're getting a 4-way match. That match is going to be Trey Miguel, Ace Austin and Eddie Edwards as planned, but a mystery entrant as well. A mystery wrestler competing for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. Interesting thing about this is that the company have previously teased that one or more former world champions will be at Slammiversary. So you can throw all kinds of speculation out there. They've teased EC3 recently. They teased Eric Young this week. There's all kinds of possibilities, and Slammiversary, to me, is shaping up to be a must-watch pay-per-view. I mean, the lineup is really, really cool. So you've got that world title match there that I've just described. You've got a knockouts title match between Jordan Grace, who's incredible, and Deonna Purrazzo, who's been killing it in the few weeks she's been in Impact since her WWE release, really washing off any stench that might have been remaining from her time in NXT, which wasn't the best period of her career. Tag team title match between the North and Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock's still killing it at 50 odd years old. You'll love to see it. X Division title, Willie Mack versus Chris Bay, and then there's a massive gauntlet match, number one contender for the Knockouts title. Lots of familiar people in there. You've got Kylie Ray, you've got Taya Valkyrie, you've got Rosemary, newcomers like Tasha Steelz. It's a cool little pay-per-view, man. I'm really looking forward to checking it out, and this main event really adds a lot of intrigue to the proceedings.
Yeah, people often tar TNA, or Impact it used to be, with the brush of like, oh, they just pick up WWE's leftovers. But they've cleaned up with some really talented stars who arguably should not have been released by WWE, adding to, like you say, what is already a stacked pay-per-view on the 18th of July, isn't it? Yeah?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I sense it may well be EC3 in that spot, but who knows? Regardless, the three other people in that match are insanely talented as well. Yeah, look, shaping up to be an absolutely phenomenal card. And speaking of Slammiversary, it looks like Heath Slater is teasing his return to professional wrestling at the 18th of July pay-per-view. Previously teased a reunion Impact Wrestling had between Slater and his former WWE Tag Team partner and former WWE inaugural SmackDown Tag Team champions Heath Slater and Rhino, who recently claims on air, quote, he already has a tag team partner and he's got kids. See what they did there. Slater released this vignette. It's all over his social media. It looks great. Something is coming soon on the 18th of July, leading everyone to connect the dots and go, oh, cool. See you at Slammiversary, Heath. Great to hear that. Heath Slater, just a lovely bloke and a legend of this business.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. Like a really talented guy as well, who's excelled in a number of undercard and midcard roles throughout his career. Valuable guy, I think, for any promotion to really have, because not everyone you sign needs to be the goddamn world champion. You need these entertaining, super charismatic mid-card dudes here and there, and Heath is certainly that. He's a really multi-talented dude. I hope all the best for him. I hope he shows up. And hey, man, I loved him and Rhino, so a reunion of that would be a lot of fun.
Exactly. So talented. I hope the best for him in Impact Wrestling. He's one of those people who, if I was going to put money on, a bit like when they picked up the Hurricane, Shane Helms, and got him to work backstage, I feel like that's a job he's going to walk into once he decides to retire from wrestling with WWE.
Absolutely.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Matt Ryan /Aussie Dead on Twitter, who says, with it being Canada Day, happy Canada Day, everybody. What a better day for WWE to have the first night of the Great American Bash. Bret Hart is unquestionably one of the greatest ever, but what are some of your favourite matches that you view as underrated classics?
Well, speaking of Bret Hart and speaking of Canada Day, happy Canada Day, the Canadian Stampede in your house main event. I mean, it's, the multi-person tag, Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation against Steve Austin, Goldust, a bunch of dudes coming in, white-hot atmosphere in the building, ridiculously well-structured, well-executed, kind of oddity of a match because obviously Bret and the Hart Foundation are playing baby faces when they're technically heels. They're playing baby faces in Canada. Austin and his lads are forced to play heel. It's just a really, really great match with a molten atmosphere and something everyone should watch constantly. It's a classic WWE match, and it's one that maybe we don't mention enough when we talk about the classics.
No, I mean, to be honest, you'd be hard pushed to find, apart from the Vince McMahon match, a bad Bret Hart match ever. Him versus Booker T at Bash of the Beach. Him versus Stone Cold at Survivor Series 96, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that everyone talks about, but it's still it's generally underrated in many people's eyes. Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid from Raw. Just another example of what a sensational talent, young talent, Sean Waltman was. But if you haven't watched it already, we talked about it yesterday. Please go and watch the WWE Network thing about Bret Hart and Tom McGee, because even for someone like myself who appreciated Bret Hart, it opens your eyes to just how good he is. And Michael Hamflett nearly exploded when he watched that documentary.
Yeah, we watched it on the channel, in fact. We did a little reaction video. I don't know if that's still kicking about, but if it is, maybe our editor will put a link in here. I don't know. It depends how fired up he's feeling. Who knows?
Hump day, innit? Second question today comes from Everything Wrestling on Twitter, who says, is there a wrestling move you never get tired of seeing? Mine would have to be Sami Zayn's Blue Thunder Bomb.
Yeah, that's a pop every time. Burning Hammer, because I'm a ghoul. Kenta Kobashi preferably doing it, because a lot of, I saw a PWG match a few years ago where they did it within like the first 3 minutes and they kicked out with like 2, and that's kind of absurd to me. The Burning Hammer to me is like the ultimate match ender. It's a certified win every single time. Kobashi only did it a handful of times throughout his career, and every single time it was a death blow and they put it over that way. It is of course an inverted Death Valley driver in which the person taking it gets dropped straight on their goddamn head. So of course a ghoul scumbag like me would be into that move. But yeah, man, every time I watch a clip of the Chief executing this thing in a match or just in a YouTube clip, I'm going like that.
Yes. Next stuff.
Exactly, baby.
Is it wrong of me to say the Worm? I just love the Worm.
Fair.
It was my finisher on SmackDown 2 when I was growing up, because I was such a huge fan of Scotty 2 Hotty, and I created this character that was definitely me. He was about 7 foot tall, spiky ginger hair, and he wrestled in sunglasses, so you knew he was cool. If not that, the Panama Sunrise, my jaw drops open every time I see it. I really enjoy watching it. But let us know in the comments your favourite wrestling move that you will never get tired of seeing. And we'll move on to today's final question from Angela Dawn, who says, do you think WWE should consider filming shows outside of the PC for a change in scenery and to make it feel more fresh to fans watching at home? Interesting, as restrictions get relaxed. Do you think that they're going to... obviously, we were talking yesterday afternoon. We did a podcast, myself, Phil, and Nicholas, about them potentially having fans back in September. They're going to be doing a show allegedly in Cleveland, a Monday Night Raw then. But do you see them in the interim, Andy, potentially shooting elsewhere?
I don't think so. I think the question for this is, right, so health and safety obviously takes precedent over everything else, including like what it looks like for the viewers and freshness and stuff. So the question they have to ask when making this decision or considering this option is, can we do this at this venue without increasing the risks? If it's even 0.5% like more dangerous or riskier to do it elsewhere, then they should not do it. However, maybe if they have another building somewhere in Orlando so people don't have to travel as much and they don't have to risk spreading things and all that stuff, if they find a place and they can do it with the same level of safety, which admittedly isn't very high, or even safer, then yeah, consider it. But until they can determine that, I would say let's just keep it going. It's boring to look at, right? The Performance Center every week. It's the same damn thing. But that's the price you pay, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. Here's a thought. If it's boring to look at, make the storylines interesting, and then you won't be just sort of staring around in the background. Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Andy. As much as it would be nice to, have a bit of a change of scenery, and even for me, watching WWE on a Thursday morning, watching NXT and watching AEW is just a nice change of scene, because they're a daily place in the PC, obviously. But yeah, I think as much as they may even want to sort of change things up a little bit, like you say, safety has to come first, and if there's any increased risk by doing that, look, we all know that this is, they should be doing more tests and what have you, but this is the safest sort of contained scenario that they can do wrestling in now. So just stick with what you've got. And the quicker we do this, I've seen those memes where it's like, if you want this, if you want tens of thousands of screaming fans baying with signs and leaning over the barricade, then just follow the rules. It's really straightforward.
Yeah,
really,
wear a mask.
Really easy.
Low key.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to today's And Finally. Andy, do you think you might have an inkling on what today's And Finally might be?
Well, I think this gesture will say it all.
Yep. If you were on social media yesterday afternoon, you would have seen my tits flying off. Because yesterday I tweeted after her amazing twisting, spinning brainbuster finisher on Ruby Riott that Peyton Royce should be a women's world champion. I'm obviously biased, but I'm going to say that. But she replied! She did the crying face emoji, the prayer emoji back to it. She liked it. She agrees with me. We're basically best friends, which makes it, you've put the headphone in back at too early, Andy Murray. Iconic!
Jesus,
Apology,
that hurt my
I'm
ear
so
and I didn't
sorry.
even have the
You must
headphone
have known
in.
that was coming.
Oh, God. Wow. Yeah, awesome this, Phil. Awesome. Nice little shout out from one of the true legends of the... That brainbuster was amazing as well, by the way. Like, has Peyton Royce been sitting there with Sean Spears watching All Japan tapes from the 90s? If she has, I'm here for it. It was sick.
Also nod to Ruby Riott for making it look so spectacular as well. But yeah, make Peyton Royce Women's World Champion in my eyes. Just a thought.
Take that,
especially
Asuka.
with Billie Kay. She is someone who I actually buy a distraction finish from, Billie Kay, rather than just, Lana walking up and going, hey, Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan just distracting herself last week. Billie Kay flailing her arms about and going, you gotta be joking me. Like, all that. That is genuinely distracting. So yeah, great
But they
stuff.
might as well, they might as well win one belt, because if you look at who's challenging for the Raw Women's Championship, and you look at who the SmackDown Women's champion is, it's a couple of wrestlers who are stealing the Iconics act at the moment. Anyway, so that's a joke, obviously, but there are similarities.
Let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and
They're going to love
subscribe.
that.
Yeah. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. But for daily wrestling podcasts, myself and the Dadley Boys previewing a tasty version of the Wednesday Night War a little bit later on today. Plus, any of your thoughts and Twitter questions. And to go and check out me bombarding Peyton Royce with Twitter messages after she liked one of mine. At WhatCulture WWE Watch, they can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hey, that was a joke, by the way. Just make that double sure. I don't want the stands coming for me in my sleep. Oh, God.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. I genuinely thought about toning down the whole Iconic stuff, and then this has happened.
Pointless.
What a mistake. What a mistake everyone's made there. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Here, remember Dido? Speaking of Stan.